You know I love a little bit of a cross genre, and this one is cross between metal, because it is Metal Monday, and Maori traditional music, and I haven't heard it before and I'm excited. Wow, this is like cinematography. Wow. This is beautiful. I'm loving the visuals of all the tattoos and the patterns, but also how the patterns are similar to the carvings. This is a song about a true story. I know nothing about New Zealand history, of course, because we don't get taught it in the UK, even though it has a little bit of something to do with the UK. So apparently we brought over a lot of muskets to New Zealand, and this started off quite a deadly war. And the name of this song, Kai Tangata, refers to food and people, and it's to do with the practice of cannibalism. Apparently in this time it was used because of the idea of mana, and that's from my research, that seems to be kind of like someone's life energy, but kind of more based in pride and authority and power, and by eating someone you would take away that part of them and gain some extra mana. Pretty gruesome. So interesting. I love the little edge of distortion. The earlier start is kind of similar to a haka, and most people know that from the rugby, or that's what I certainly know it from. It's terrifying for the other team, I would imagine. But also I would feel like it's very, very empowering to be part of this team who use this forceful, very direct, even tone of their voice. And then I loved how it switched into a more, I was going to say traditional metal, but I think the haka's more traditional, really, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the tattoo is like a modern tattooing machine. It's interesting having this mix of modern and old, the beautiful cinematography, bringing history into now, and I love how music gives us the opportunity to learn this. In fact, you know what, I have to give big credit to metal because there are so many fusion genres of metal and it's just completely accepted. There's so much learning and history in metal. Hats off to your geekery and inclusion. Yeah, this is definitely so interesting. I love how they're building it up with the unison. Of course, it's not really sung. It is sung to a certain extent. You're getting some pitched speaking within it, and some of the notes are held. It's in that kind of grey area between singing and speaking. I love that little bit of distortion, but it's quite open and resonant as well. It actually really reminds me of Slayer. This is another thing that metal music has embraced, and it hasn't perhaps been embraced in all music, is a variety of different voices. It doesn't need to be traditionally beautiful, you know, it doesn't need to be clear and bright and able to hit a high note, although that sometimes is in metal and that's fantastic. It also embraces gruff and harsh. We're humans, we can be any of these things. We're multifaceted and we're complex and we're beautiful. Yeah. That was a really interesting shot because I, again, don't know any of the history of this, but seeing a woman warrior, I actually read recently they found this warrior who was buried with lots of weapons and seemed to have a female pelvis. And for years they're like, cannot be the case. It's a warrior. They just must have womanly hips. And then eventually, after years and years, they did DNA testing and found out it was in fact a woman, and there were lots of women warriors. You get so used to a visual that it becomes like, oh, when you see something a little bit different, even though that is definitely historically correct. Brutal. I love how it goes from that really bright bell-like focus sound, a tiny bit of twang, not very nasal, really open. It sounds very well produced, like it's quite easy for them. And then as he lowers down, he gets a little bit of that grit and distortion. Just playing around with those textures marries it with the Haka style verses so that you get that gritty distortion throughout, even though this has this kind of clean, fluid, bell-like chorus in it. Oh, there's an old style tattoo. Oh, a little girl. Shows the brutality, right, of that era. Wow, this is so amazing to watch. I'm like, what's gonna happen? It's so like a movie. Now, this band was started by two brothers called Lewis and Henry, and they're from Dutch and Maori descent, and they actually started the band when they were 8 and 10 years old. And much of their music is about bringing Maori history, Maori culture into more of the public consciousness, and I think they're definitely doing a good job of that. These really even rhythms are really interesting. I'm assuming that comes from Maori traditional music, and it's nice that it marries so well with the I'm not making the guitar. That was meant to be the guitar. I'm not making it sound very metal. And what I'm also finding interesting is this very traditional style of singing is actually still used today. It's used in Slayer, it's used in a lot of punk. It's not dissimilar anatomically what you're doing with your body. Singers have sung a certain way for all of humanity. It's so innate in us. I love how they're getting a bit more grit now. He kind of reminds me of the vocals of Lane Staley in Alice in Chains when he's up there with that kind of distorted but direct sound, a little bit of twang, a little bit of compression, and that feeling of a very, very focused sound, and it works so well against that lower gritty sound. Oh, it's terrifying. I feel like I just sat here fascinated because I know none of this history, and it just feels like such a beautiful entry into learning about something that I need to learn a little bit more about. So thank you, Alien Weaponry, for expanding my mind. Before you go, I have just released my very own album, Fable. It's a story of darkness and delight. I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you might prefer the dark side of the album, and that is available on YouTube and on Spotify. It's the kind of first half of the album. You can also purchase a CD from my website, bethroars.com. Purchasing a CD allows me to do what I do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Bye.